This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview.
Joining us today is Rolf Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG, and David Palumbo, the CEO of EQTEC. So, welcome to you both. Rolf, Happy New Year. How are you?
Very well, Mark. Happy New Year. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And David, of course, the first time we're speaking, you're welcome onto Stockbox. How are you?
Very good, Mark. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you very much. So, David, if I can ask you first just to perhaps briefly introduce yourself and also EQTEC, give us a bit of an overview about what it is that you're doing.
Sure. I'm the CEO of EQTEC PLC. EQTEC is a technology company, an innovation company that specializes in creating some of the high quality synthesis gas for applications in electrical power and also biofuels such as hydrogen and methane. Okay.
And what about your background, David? Where have you come from?
My background before EQTEC I've been for 20 years in venture capital in technology and in private equity in energy infrastructure.
Okay. Now, obviously, you're working with MNRG. What do you like about the partnership with MetalNRG, and why are you two working together?
Well, I think in terms of EQTEC, we've been very clear since I joined as a CEO, our strategy to scale is based also in developing an ecosystem of partners around us. And MetalNRG for us is a development partner. Is very important in the sector where MetalNRG come, which is natural resources and the oil and gas as well. Is a sector that is going through a very deep transformation, but the experience required to develop energy or natural resources project has a lot of a read across to the development of energy or biofuel project that we may be developing as well. So we want to stay as a technology company. We are very much of a digital IP rich company that is developing more and more solutions with a view in the future to license these solutions. So it's important to develop an ecosystem of partners, experienced partners as MetalNRG. I know Rolf for a few years now. So we think it's the infrastructure or the asset-backed play of owning this type of assets is a very interesting, compelling business model with predictable cash flow, with good revenues, with high IRRs. But for us, partnership like this just allow us to stay on a swim lane to become the enabler and become like the Intel inside of this type of solution that work alongside with experienced developer to look at this project. Another thing interesting, there's not many projects, there's not many listed vehicles that at this type of level of baseline energy type of smaller project give exposure to investors to energy transition infrastructure. And I think this could be something very interesting for MetalNRG in the partnership, and we will be happy to enable those projects.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of the sort of projects that you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, the project that we're working in MetalNRG initially is they are one of the three investors on the project that we have doing in Tuscany, in Italy. This is a project that we expect to be this year live and operational. So we are looking at this a project that using locally sourced agricultural waste or wood waste, forestry waste into producing electricity. Also, most of the projects in Europe now are going to be producing biochar as well, which is a type of carbon produced, which is growing demand in Europe. It's already big demand in our pipeline in California. And these are an interesting output as well, not only for the offtake of the product, but for the carbon credits that are associated with this that make this project very, very profitable. So all the projects that we're looking with MetalNRG are projects that they have anything between 6 to 18 months to cash flow, and these are projects that are shovel-ready projects with anything between 10 and 14% on lever IRR.
Okay. Thank you very much, David. So, Rolf, if I come to you now, you have this partnership deal with EQTEC, which was recently strengthened with the share exchange. Can you tell us why you partnered with EQTEC, what you hope to achieve, and why you strengthened the partnership just prior to Christmas?
I think there's a number of things, and David touched on them, but fundamentally, I believe there's three key aspects here. The first is that MetalNRG's stated strategy is to invest in projects that will be revenue producing within a relatively short period of time, therefore anywhere from 6 to 18 months in producing revenue. EQTEC have done quite a lot of work and have what I refer to as a number of shovel-ready projects. Italy is pointed case. And these are projects that meet our strategic intent of producing revenue in a relatively short period of time. So they're looking at projects that Italy, for example, is a recommissioning project. It was previously commissioned. It went down, and due to a number of issues, it is now being brought back and it is being recommissioned. So it gives us the opportunity to shorten the period towards producing revenue. The third key point, as David pointed out, they have technology, they have IP, which we don't have. And the game that we're playing here is we're coming in on the infrastructure side, which gives us an opportunity to invest, but it allows us to benefit from their expertise, their knowledge, and it exposes us to a sector which I think is over the next 10 to 20 years going to be absolutely fascinating because of the amounts of money that actually has to be invested in it and the whole transition towards green sustainable. And at the bottom of all of that is what we're looking at doing is creating a number of joint venture projects where we're invested in, which will give us that revenue on an ongoing sustainable basis from a green agenda. So that's what's attractive to MetalNRG, and that's what we're working on very closely with David and his team.
Okay. Now, you've both mentioned this term shovel ready. I wonder if you can maybe just elaborate on what you mean by that and how quickly you would expect to get things up and running.
For me,
sure.
shovel. Sorry, go ahead, David.
No, I mean, typically, I mean, this project, depending on where you are working at, depending is different in Italy than in Greece. But some of these projects, if you come early from let's say month zero in the development, you take a lot of time in terms of planning, in terms of building permits. So we as EQTEC, as I said, because we're primarily a technology company that want to deploy our solutions, we got involved into some of these projects that they were already mature and have all the permit in place, and it's a situation where the commercials on the site fail, like in the case of Italy, so we are reconfiguring the commercial operation. And then this is a project that you have a much shorter development cycle. So when we talk about shovel ready, we're talking about a project that they have, most of the permits in place already, and they just need maybe a reconfiguration of the technology or a reconfiguration of the planning, changing the commercials around the project, but it's not something that you need to start pretty much as a greenfield project that you need to do all the planning and permits, et cetera, required for these projects.
Okay.
The other aspect, which is very interesting with some of these, and Italy is again a point in case, is that these plants already have tariffs into the grid, and sometimes, and most of the time, they're premium tariffs because they've been negotiated previously, and we can benefit from that, which makes the RRR much more interesting from an investment point of view. So again, we're not looking at investing in projects that are greenfield where we have to get the permits, the land, the designs, the etc. We're looking at those that are further advanced that can be recommissioned in a relatively short period of time where we can benefit from some of the commercial re-engineering that will produce the kind of IRRs that we're looking at.
Okay, and for MetalNRG then, Rolf, you're looking for a return, you say fairly quickly, you said 6 to 18 months?
6 to 18 months is the period of time to recommission the plants that we're looking at. The financial models that we've worked with with David and his team, has certain calls on cash to make sure the operations maintain viability, financial viability, and only at a later stage you start seeing the benefits as an investor. Because, for example, Italy will hold on to 6 months operational cash before it starts distributing any dividends. Okay. So again, within those parameters, the 6 to 18 months for us is to get the plant commissioned and to enable it to start producing revenue again, and then to start seeing the benefits flow through will take a little bit longer once the project is actually recommissioned and producing the revenue that we'd be looking for.
And how much?
One thing to add there, Mark, as well. These projects, once they're operational, you have a predictive cash flows for a period that can be 5, 10, 15 years, which is very attractive for a pension fund. So you could have a situation where an infrastructure developer, infrastructure small project investor like MetalNRG will syndicate the position on these smaller projects, which are commissioned much quicker. And when you have 2, 3, or 4 of these projects, besides benefiting from the revenues from the project, you can also sell a portfolio of these projects where you're looking at double digits, low double digits. You can sell those at a predictable, yield compression of anything between 6 and 8, or even below that, which generate a significant capital increase on those assets.
Okay. I guess as well, David, you have already a kind of a plan that you're going to be executing, a bit of a timeline. Can you give us a bit of an idea on that?
In terms of for this project, we'll have, as I said, another different type of ecosystem partners or joint venture or go-to-market partners. We have very strong now go-to-market partners in Croatia. We have in Greece. We have a pipeline of these projects with a partner over there, Phoenix Energy in California as well. So we're looking, very closely in 2022 to develop further the relationship that we have in Ireland, in France, and in Italy as well. So each of those, EQTEC is moving more to a group configuration where we have subsidiaries that go to market subsidiaries like this one, that each of these ones are developing a portfolio, a pipeline of projects there. So all of these are projects that on one side, can be syndicated with investors like MetalNRG, and MetalNRG has right of first refusal to some of those projects, and also is an opportunity to in the network in country that MetalNRG has in other places. They are bringing projects to us that they may be interesting for us to also bring our expertise to development to a financial close.
Okay. And Rolf, the return for MetalNRG, then that comes from dividends, does it, once the operations are up and running and there's some good profit coming through?
Yeah, it can come from dividends, but it can also come from selling on the asset once we've got a package that, as David pointed out, if you've got predictable revenues for 10, 15 years, it becomes very attractive for pension funds because it gives them an annuity business, and that allows them to forecast their own spenders. So it becomes a very attractive target that you could look at passing on and making a return on that, and as well as then reinvesting that money and making a profit in that way. So there's a number of opportunities and doors that will open for us once we have a package that is revenue producing, and as I said, and as David has pointed out, is predictable, sustainable, and has a period of time attached to it because of the nature of the business.
Okay.
So we'd be looking at one, yes, revenues, but also two, can we package it up and sell it on at a later point?
Okay, so clearly you see the opportunity here in, as you mentioned, the IP and the tech and the projects that EQTEC are working on. How much involvement will MNRG have on a day-to-day basis? Will it be not very much?
On a day-to-day basis, very little. And that's, for us, another great advantage because we've always looked at projects that have management expertise and that bring something more to the table. And in EQTEC's case, they bring everything to the table, frankly, because they have an outstanding technology, a tested and proven technology. They have IP. They've been working for a long period of time, and therefore the projects that they have access to make it extremely attractive for us. So we, on a day-to-day basis, very little involvement. What we're doing is looking at the projects on as they come on, and we're looking at identifying the best opportunities that EQTEC wants us involved with, and that we're interested in getting involved with because of the country, the pace at which it will start producing, and so we're looking at a number of projects. But from that perspective, EQTEC is supplying a very nice package that, in many ways, we can benefit from and piggyback on.
Okay, and you will be updating the market as and when appropriate, or would you like to do it quite regularly?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to further updates and working closely with David and his team. So I wouldn't be surprised that we'll have a few updates with regard to the relationship and some of the projects over the next 6 months.
Okay. And just on MNRG, then a final point on the business model. Of course, you do have the BritNRG aspect, the oil, and of course the gold as well. But this is very much green and clean energy. Is that going to be more of a focus for MNRG, or what's the mix? Is it going to be roughly the same?
I think if you look at what's happening globally, there's a massive shift towards green technology. And we have had the fortune of announcing the business partnership with EQTEC, which allows us to accelerate and allows us to benefit from work that they've done. And I see more of this because I see that if you look at it globally, there is a huge shortage of investment and there is a huge investment required. Waste is not going away, far from it. It's increasing on an ongoing and a continuous basis, which means that the supply into these plants is very much available and will probably be coming down in terms of price. And if you look at the energy side, there's a huge requirement for energy, and it has to be green, it has to be sustainable. So I believe it's a massive opportunity. There's a huge transition going on, and I think that we're going to do everything to drive it forward and to be part of it. And so I would expect more of the EQTEC partnership to develop over the next year or two.
Okay. Well, Rolf Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG, and David Palumbo, the CEO of EQTEC, thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark. Pleasure.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.